The cold steel walls of the alien vessel hummed softly, as Captain Elias Kane found himself in the heart of the unknown. He was bound, his wrists secured by shimmering energy cuffs, while a towering figure loomed before him, a vision of regal menace and otherworldly beauty. The alien queen stood tall, her exoskeletal armor glinting in the eerie violet glow of the chamber. Her iridescent eyes bore into his soul, unreadable yet filled with a fire that sent chills down his spine. He had been warned. The moment he laid a hand on her, even in defiance, she had whispered those fateful words, "Touch me again, human, and you will regret it." But Kane was not one to be deterred by threats, even from a being as powerful as her. He had come too far, ventured into the depths of hostile space, to let himself be cowed now. His mission was clear: secure a diplomatic truce or, failing that, gather intelligence on their newfound enemy. But what he had not anticipated was her. Queen Xyra of the Zarkhari Dominion was unlike any adversary he had faced before. She was not merely a warlord commanding her people through brute force. She was their heart, their fury, their divine ruler. And she did not suffer fools lightly. The chains of energy tightened as she stepped closer, the scent of something sharp and electric filling the air around him. He could see now that her exoskeleton was not armor, but part of her very being, shifting slightly with each breath. The air between them crackled, charged with something he couldn't define. She was furious, yes, but there was something else, curiosity perhaps? A test? "You humans are bold," she murmured, tilting her head. "Too bold for your own good. You believe yourself untouchable, thinking your kind can waltz into our dominion and negotiate from a place of strength. Tell me, Captain Kane, did you truly believe you could lay hands upon me and walk away unscathed?" Kane swallowed hard. "I don't regret my actions," he said, his voice steady. "But I also don't wish for war. Our species doesn't have to be enemies." She laughed then, a sound that sent shivers down his spine. "You speak of peace after raising a hand to me? You mistake your position, human. You are not here as a negotiator. You are a prisoner. And as a prisoner, you will learn your place." The moment the words left her lips, the energy cuff surged with a pulse of pain, forcing Kane to his knees. He grit his teeth, refusing to give her the satisfaction of a scream. But Xyra was watching closely, studying him with a gaze that felt as though it could strip away every secret he carried. Then, as suddenly as it began, the pain ceased. Kane panted, lifting his gaze to meet hers once more. "If you wanted me dead, you'd have killed me already," he stated. "That tells me something." Xyra's mandibles twitched, the equivalent of a smirk, perhaps. "Indeed. Killing you would be simple. But I have a better idea. You wish to prove that your people are not our enemies? That you are capable of understanding more than just conquest? Then you will face the trials." Kane frowned. "Trials?" She turned away, her long, segmented tail flicking behind her. "Survive them, and we will talk. Fail, and you will no regret beyond what mere pain can offer." The chamber doors hissed open, and a pair of Zarkhari guards stepped forward, their weapons gleaming in the violet light. Kane took a deep breath as they grabbed him by the arms, hauling him to his feet. He had no idea what these trials entailed, but one thing was certain: Queen Xyra was not one to make idle threats. As they dragged him from the chamber, Kane's mind raced. He had come in search of peace, but now he was about to fight for his very survival. One way or another, he would show this alien queen that humans were not so easily broken. But deep down, he knew the truth. He had already touched something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. And he would either earn her respect or die trying. The passageway leading from the chamber was dimly lit, the walls pulsing with bioluminescent veins that seemed almost alive. The guards remained silent, their grips firm, but not unnecessarily rough. Kane's boots echoed against the metallic floor as he was led through a series of twisting corridors until they arrived at a vast, open chamber. The room was unlike anything Kane had ever seen. Towering crystalline structures rose from the floor, casting refracted light across the domed ceiling. The walls were lined with intricate carvings, depicting battles, triumphs, and what he assumed to be Zarkhari legends. At the center of the chamber stood a massive, circular platform surrounded by an arena-like pit. A voice echoed through the chamber, unmistakably Queen Xyra's. "Your first trial begins now, Captain Kane. If you survive, you may yet prove yourself worthy." The guards released him and stepped back as the floor beneath Kane began to shift. The circular platform he stood on rose, separating from the ground to hover above the pit. A low growl filled the chamber as a set of enormous gates slid open. From the darkness beyond, something moved, something massive. Kane clenched his fists as a towering beast emerged. It had the hulking frame of a predator, covered in thick, jagged scales. Multiple glowing eyes locked onto him with an unsettling hunger, and razor-sharp claws scraped against the ground. The scent of raw ozone filled the air as the beast exhaled, its breath shimmering with energy. Xyra's voice carried through the chamber once more. "Survive, human. Let us see if your species is as formidable as you claim." The beast roared, lunging forward. Kane had no weapon, no armor, just his wits and his will to survive. The trials had begun, and failure was not an option. Kane barely had time to move before the beast lunged, its massive claws raking the air where he had stood a moment ago. He rolled to the side, feeling the heat of its breath as it snarled, the sound reverberating through the chamber. He was unarmed, vulnerable, but not defeated. His mind raced. The Zarkhari were testing him, pushing him to his limits. If he wanted to prove humanity's strength, he would have to think like a survivor. He scanned the chamber, noting the crystalline structure surrounding him. If they could refract light, perhaps they could also refract energy. The beast charged again, and this time Kane dodged towards one of the towering crystals. The moment its massive frame collided with the structure, a sharp, electric discharge erupted. The creature howled in pain, its scales sizzling where the energy had struck. Kane smirked. He had found his weapon. Breathing heavily, he circled the platform, baiting the monster into another charge. Again, it lunged, and Kane twisted his body at the last second, forcing the beast to collide with another crystal. The resulting explosion of energy sent it reeling. But Kane knew he couldn't rely on just defense. He needed a finishing blow. As the beast stumbled, dazed from the shocks, Kane sprinted toward the nearest crystal and leapt onto it, using its uneven surface for grip. He positioned himself above the wounded creature and, with every ounce of strength he had left, he launched himself down, aiming for its exposed throat. He drove his fists into the beast's vulnerable flesh, targeting the soft, bioluminescent veins running along its neck. It let out a guttural, pained cry, its body convulsing as the last of its energy drained. With one final shudder, it collapsed, its massive form twitching before going still. Silence filled the chamber. Then, the air vibrated with the sound of slow, deliberate applause. Kane turned, his body aching, to see Queen Xyra watching from above, her mandibles twitching in what he could only assume was amusement. "Impressive," she said, stepping forward to the edge of the observation platform. "You adapt quickly, Captain Kane. Perhaps your species is not as primitive as I thought." Kane wiped a hand across his brow, smearing sweat and grime. "So does that mean we talk now? Or do I have to fight an entire zoo first?" Xyra chuckled, the sound both haunting and strangely alluring. "You have proven your resilience, but strength alone does not earn you diplomacy. There is one final trial." She gestured, and the platform lowered back to the ground. The guards approached, but this time, they did not restrain him. Instead, they stepped aside, allowing him to walk freely towards the queen. She descended from her throne, her luminous eyes fixed on his as she drew closer. "Your final trial is one of understanding, Captain. You fought well, but can you learn? Can you grasp the weight of what you ask?" Kane met her gaze, his heartbeat steady. "I wouldn't have come all this way if I wasn't willing to try." Xyra studied him for a moment before extending a clawed hand. "Then come! We shall see if a human can truly understand the Zarkhari." With a deep breath, Kane reached out, placing his hand in hers. The moment they touched, a surge of energy coursed through him, not painful, but overwhelming. Visions flooded his mind, memories of war, of loss, of a civilization teetering on the brink of annihilation and rising again through sheer force of will. He saw Xyra, not just as a queen, but as a warrior, a ruler who bore the weight of her people's survival on her shoulders. When the vision subsided, he staggered back, gasping. Xyra watched him carefully. "Now you have seen. Do you still believe we can be allies?" Kane straightened, meeting her gaze with renewed understanding. "Yes. Now more than ever." A slow nod. "Then perhaps there is hope for your kind yet. Come, Captain Kane. Let us discuss the future of our people." As they walked side by side through the towering halls of the Zarkhari vessel, Kane knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning.